Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Love Wrestling Interviews. My name is Blair Pacheco. You see me every week up on 4Exposure here on the Love Wrestling YouTube channel with my good friend Pluggo. We take a look at the world of independent wrestling. Sometimes you may even hear me on the Grainmaker Wrestling podcast, but today you're hearing me Love Wrestling Interviews, and I am stoked. I am jacked up for my guest today. I've known this guy for a few years. We've talked, we've laughed. I am a mark for this guy. I have no problem admitting it. Us Short Kings stick together. We have royalty here with none other than the Short King, Marz the Specialist. Marz, how is it going, man?
It's going good. Life's good. A lot of training, a lot of work. We got a big match this month, right? KUSHIDA, baby. Can't complain. Hard work, but hard work pays off, baby.
Dude, when you rewind and look at 2024 as a whole, when we started back in January to where we are right now in November, I mean, a few days away, your match with KUSHIDA, there's a lot to unpack with 2024 as a whole for you, because with where you started and where you've ended up, you have continued to level up month in and month out. As a whole, how are you feeling about this past year?
No, I appreciate the kind words, by the way. It is crazy, when you top to bottom, start in January, the Oil Rumble, 7 versus the Rads, tried and true, the forever rivalry. And then coming down to now, I've grown a lot, not just as a wrestler, but as a person. I went from 7 to grand champion. Yep. It is, when you take that step back, take the time to smell the roses. It is kind of crazy, isn't it? How much has changed. And I appreciate everyone who stuck by me through all this year. But we're just getting started in the long run, aren't we? We're just getting started.
We really are. But so 2024, I mean, you guys kick things off Rogers Place. I mean, that is a massive event, a massive opportunity for everyone just to showcase what you guys were able to do. I mean, you mentioned, teaming with 7, facing off against the Rads. And I mean, from there, I mean, you've seen the separation from 7, the storyline there, which I think you and Jack did such an incredible job telling that story. When you look back, I mean, we talked about it. Things have changed overall for the year. You've kept going up. You've kept progressing. When you look at, we'll say with 7, where you started off there, I mean, was there any stories left with 7 that maybe you were hoping to tell at that time that maybe you didn't? Was there anything left untouched that you wanted to be able to bring forth with it?
That's a good question. I think we basically covered everything we needed to. We had myself and Thad in the final match. Finally gave his comeuppance. Me and Jack, I don't think there's anything else we can do there. Obviously, the one loose end would be TJ, just because the circumstances were costs for flights and everything. That didn't really work out. So that's the one loose end that maybe eventually we can tie up.
Yeah.
But honestly, from top to bottom, 7 is just such a perfect story for me. I joined in because I kept losing month after month, partner after partner. I just couldn't get my feet on the floor. So we'll help you out. We'll come on in. We'll help you out. And the eventual corruption into, finding myself again and having the people give me the trust in myself to be able to do this. Turning on 7, and then, here we are.
That is a massive jump. And I mean, let's talk about the LPW Grand Championship, because I mean, you were the champion of, the champion of salvation before. You cashed that in. You decided, hey, this is my opportunity. And I was kind of thinking back about this, and you as LPW Grand Champion, I don't want to say it's a changing of a guard, but it shows that I mean, for years, people may have looked at you and thought maybe you're too small to do this. Maybe you're not big enough, not tall enough, not strong enough, whatever it is. You becoming champion reminded me, and I'm going to date myself big time, but back in 1992, when Bret Hart became world champion, because when you look at it, I think people saw him and they maybe thought well, can he do it? Is he big enough? Does he have enough fight in him? And that's sort of the comparison I see with you, because you won that champion, and month in, month out, you absolutely deliver in the ring, on the promos, everything. So, like, as you're the LPW Grand Champion, how are you feeling? What does that mean to you? Because you are the face of LPW now. That's a big responsibility.
Again, I really appreciate the kind words. It's a lot hearing from someone else. I always say I want to be the best. I always say, like, my goal is to be, looked at hundreds, thousands of years from now, remembered as one of the best wrestlers ever. That's the goal. And obviously that's like big dreaming, but like, if you don't have big dreams, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
But hearing from someone else, no, little rosy cheeks. It is a big responsibility, and I am honored that the company trusts me to do that. Mm-hmm. I think that month in, month out, like you said, I've proven that I can hang with some of the best. My match with Blake Christian, I'm so proud of that match, because afterwards, what he said on the mic, that wasn't planned. He didn't need to say that. All he had to do was shake my hand and walk out. But he took the time to say, "You're really good. I want to wrestle you again." And that means something to me. That means that people are starting to take notice slowly and slowly. Obviously, this doesn't happen overnight. So I need to keep putting the work in to get that eventual grind, so people notice worldwide.
And as Canadians, we wrestlers here are at a disadvantage, because even traveling down to the States, you got to get that work visa, or else you're going to be
risk.
It's a big risk. So to hear that, to get the praise from someone like Blake Christian, he wrestled in Japan earlier this year. He's everywhere. So you're hearing it from him. That's a big kudos. So for you, how do you take that and continue to build off of that, knowing that, like, as a Canadian, the deck is a little bit stacked against you?
I guess the biggest one is don't let it get to my head. I can say that, like, I could believe that I'm like the best. I could believe that, but like, that's, for one, just not true. And two, the moment you start believing you're hype, that's when you start resting on your laurels. That's when you don't give it your all, which is not what I want. Mm-hmm. I want to give it my all. I want to always, feel like I'm the underdog a little bit, because that makes me work harder. Mm-hmm. When I won this title a few months afterwards, when I beat Jack in the final match, I cut a promo and I said that this championship does not make me the best. It means I have the chance every single month to prove I'm the best. And I do believe that. That's not like a line I said just for the promo. That's something I truly believe in. This gives me the spot in the card to wrestle the best in the world, to prove that I can hang with them. And I'm honored that I'm given the opportunity to do that, not just for the company, but for myself.
No, with Blake, former GCW champion, so he has been in that same position. He's been the face of a company. Obviously, we heard what he said, after the match. Were you guys able to chat at all a little bit afterwards? Was there anything that he was able to kind of like provide insight with for you to kind of help you going forward?
This is no jab at him. He's a little quieter guy. That's just how it is. We spoke a little bit, but like not too much. I think we spoke a little bit. Had to go cut the Short Kings promo, the post-show little thingy, and spoke a little bit more. Then yeah, flight to catch. But yeah, super nice guy. Did speak a little bit about, like, just keep working, keep doing it. That's sadly all you can do.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, if you continue to put in the work, you do get noticed eventually. It's just, it may take some time. But you talk, like, dude, you're coming off of Blake Christian, and in a few short days, you have one of the greatest wrestlers out there with KUSHIDA. Now, first and foremost, when you found out that you're facing off KUSHIDA, what was the reaction like? I wish that there was a camera on you, because when I found out about it, I let out crap, that, like, this is a big match.
I remember I got the message from Spencer, and he said it's not 100%. It's about 99% right now. do you want to know, or do you want us to just like wait and then you can find it online? And I'm curious. What can I say? So I was like, you know what? Send me the graphic. Let's see what you got.
Mhm.
And it took me a second. Like, I stared at it for a while. I was like, really? It took me a second to like really process it, because like when you hear about like the names you can get, like, you know, there's some bigger names, but Kushida is one you don't see swirling around a lot, I find, on the independents.
Mhm.
So he's not just like as great as we all know he is. He's also has that little mystique around him because he doesn't do it this often.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit of an honor there, to where it's like, okay, I'm one of the very few independents you get to work in, and I got to do the main event of LPW for my grand championship. You know, it doesn't get much better than that, right?
Yeah, like the fact that, you know, a guy like Kushida, you said it, he doesn't wrestle a lot of indies. He mainly does, you know, TNA, he does New Japan, and that is like the
Yeah,
bulk of it. So like when people are going to go through his cage match in a few short weeks, they're going to see LPW, hopefully Marz the Specialist defeating Kushida, and it's going to be just like a holy shit. Now who's this Marz the Specialist we have to check out? What's
yeah.
the prep like for you now, like knowing that you're going to be facing off with Kushida?
I would say for myself, like gym wise, not a lot has changed.
Mhm.
I'm trying, and this might sound insane now I'm thinking about it. I try to do an hour of cardio after every lift.
Dude, I walk 20 minutes on the treadmill and I'm like, yep, that's good.
You know, I do my lift, which I usually do push pull legs.
Yep.
Little insight for you guys. I usually do push pull legs, and then try to do an hour of cardio if I don't have the time. At least get some cardio in. You know, something's better than nothing. You know.
Yep.
And then I'm just trying to eat clean. No, I know for this match it's going to be a lot more. I won't need my strength as much because I know I'm strong enough, so I don't need to like push myself strength wise. I need to push myself cardio wise. Is how I feel.
That hour of cardio could be the difference maker for you in this match, like going forward, because I mean, one of the best, you know, juniors of all time, and Kushida can go. So like cutting back on the strength, the power, focusing more on the quickness. That's a smart game plan going for this one.
And I find like mental wise, when I'm in the ring, I don't think about how tired I am, especially if I know how big it is.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's been matches I felt tired before. But like with Blake Christian, we went like over half an hour. Didn't feel tired at all, just because my brain wasn't thinking about that.
Mhm.
So that's another thing. Like if you're able to disconnect your mind from like, I don't say your body, but like your gas tank, let's say.
Yeah.
You're able to keep going without even like realizing you're tired.
Mhm. It like it can be anything. Like if you're out doing yard work, you can be motoring all day, but as soon as you kind of take that breath, you're like, "Whew, this is a lot of work." You know, that's when it kicks in. That's when you kind of start that descent. So if you can block that out, you're laughing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I mean, this is a massive matchup, but like you got the gold on your shoulder. You are no stranger to other gold, because not too long ago, you and Reid, the other short king, became the PPW tag team champions. What was that like becoming, you know, tag champs with Reid? Because you two are very close. Like you guys are basically brothers at this point. So like, what has that been like being able to like share this part of your journey with them?
So I wanna take a little discourse off that just to share this part. You say we're like brothers. A fan from LPW, she sent me a screenshot because she like does a lot of like arts for like myself. Like I usually get her to do like she did the Short King shirt, for example.
Mhm.
So she was like going through her Google Photos, and she sent me a screenshot of like a notification that popped up, and it was a photo of me and a photo of Reid, and it asked, "Are these the same person?" For like the album's sakes. And that's Google. That's AI telling the world that we're the same person at this point.
I mean, if it's on Google, it's got to be true. So
Exactly. But another fun fact, I think we won the titles on Saturday. 3 days later, on the Tuesday, was our 2-year anniversary of our first match ever together.
Mhm.
So that just happenstance, but a really cool happenstance that 2 years after the Short Kings first wrestled together, they won their first belts.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was super cool. We got to do in the ring. You know, we had myself, we had the Brotherhood, and then we had Michael Blaze and Stephen Crow.
Yep.
So very fun match. Had my forever rival Stephen and a great teacher in Michael, who I really look up to. So to be able to share the ring with them to win our first Titan Championships, also great. But the fact that the Short Kings were never supposed to be a thing. Mm-hmm. The fact that we just made some dumb videos, it caught on, and people wanted to see us together, and you know, it never really worked out in LPW just because like we've always been doing our own things. But like the one thing I like about it is like in LPW, we're always doing our own things, but everyone knows the Short Kings are a thing.
Yeah. There's
that underlying like we're friends, and there's always like if we're ever in the ring together, everyone knows it's the Short Kings, right? Mm-hmm. But then outside of LPW, we can do whatever we want. We've been to Ontario together, and now we're Titan champions in Saskatoons.
What was that like for the Ontario? Because I mean, that was your first time kind of wrestling in Eastern Canada, correct?
Yes. That was super cool. We got very good opponents that weekend, I will say. Shout out to Alexi Nicole. Shout out to Johnny DeLuca. Shout out to the Dynasty, the Premier. A bunch of cool guys we were able to work. I can't say enough nice things about those people, you know. Especially Johnny DeLuca, honestly. I've shouted him out on Twitter before. I want to work him again. It's just myself, at least. But yeah, great people. Can't say enough nice things about them.
Do you have any plans to head back out there, like anytime soon, maybe in the new year?
I've been talking to some people down there, but it's always hard to work out, and travel's always hard. Like a lot of times it's like, you know, I'd recommend you find more bookings if you can, because like flights sort of deal, and like, yeah, things are expensive, sadly. So it's either, you know, you eat the cost or you try to like make a trip about it. You know what I'm saying? You know, do some bookings here and there. Yeah. So it's always just trying to like figure that stuff out. But I have been talking places, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. When it comes to the podcast and doing the videos with Reid, like how do you guys come up with the ideas? Because like I remember when we kind of recorded at Spencer's house, you know, last September, like it was just like off the wall, like the kind of stuff like that you guys would come up with that we all integrate into the podcast. It was like, we're talking about Pokemon, we're talking about the zoo, we're talking about this, we're talking about that. And it was like one thing after another. Like, how'd you guys come up with it?
So for the podcast specific episodes, a lot of those are just like, we have a group chat, myself, Reid Matthews, and our stage manager, Casey Matthews. We have a little group chat together, and we'll throw ideas every once in a while, and then we'll do them when we have the time, obviously. Yeah. When it comes to like the actual episodes, like for example, the ones we did at West Edmonton Mall, it's either like time, place specific, or we're feeling really dumb that day and we have the stupid idea we want to do.
But that's some of the best stuff when it's just like going off the cuff, like let's just go have fun.
Like the when we had the new shirts, that was what the last one was. We had the little shirt commercial. That was just us being dumb. And it did very well. I'm very happy with how well it did online for some reason. But that's just us being dumb. You know, the one for Intangible Short Kings, I said, what if we pretend to inaugurate Zoe into the Short Kings, and then we just happens to be on the phone with her, and that's what we did.
Perfect. Like as a fan, when you're watching this, it's just nice to see another side of, you know, the wrestlers, because like we see everything inside the ring, you see the promos, this and that, but to know like, hey, we can go up too. That's what I like as a fan, you know?
Oh yeah. I remember, funnily enough, I'm recording this on the same day I did like a Fightful interview. Happenstance. And my favorite question he asked me was, so what is this contract in the pole match I see here on my cage match? And I had to explain that, we had a random triple threat match with TFA. Me and Reid somehow turned that random triple threat match into I did Reid's taxes. That then became, since TFA won, now Reid owes his taxes. And then we did the Marz Attack Specialist segment, which is me in the suit with the what do you mean? That's where that meme comes from. And that turned into me and Reid versus Michael and Taryn. And if we lost, we both owe taxes. And that turned into me versus Reid, contract the poll, loser has to pay. Those are my favorite things to tell. Because like people will hear that and be like, what?
What do you mean?
Exactly. But those are my favorite stories to tell because they're just so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could tell you, oh yeah, I wrestled so and so and it was a good match. Yeah. The same, I did a live tax audit in the ring. Who else can say that?
Yeah, 100%. Like it's something that stands out.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask. I got a couple more for you. I'll let you go. I mean, you made your return to BC this past year, wrestling for NEW. You were in a match, and I'm going to ask because there's one person in that match that I know is a bit of a standout, especially in the West Coast right now, and that's Casey Ferreira. You see a guy like him, young, hungry. He's just knocking it out of the park with, his in-ring performance, and it's like must-see TV. You were in that position at one point. So like, how do you kind of stay, I don't want to say hungry, but motivated when you see those younger guys chomping at the bit, trying to catch up to you?
I would say it probably motivates me more.
Yeah.
I was here first. I want all the food. I'm hungry. You know what I'm saying? But no, when it comes to that match and Casey in particular, I remember after that match, I went up. I was like, I want to work that men's singles. In Casey, like, I don't know if I think it's online. Yeah, no, it is online. I don't know if you've watched it.
I haven't seen
it. There's a lot of parts where I was like, hey, me and Casey will do this just so it could just like be sneakily just me and him, like, because I really wanted to like see what the hype was about, I guess. And I don't want to make it come off as like a rude thing, but like I wanted to work him because everyone hypes him up. I'm like, all right, let's see how it is. And it's real. I really like working Casey. I hope doing the singles again. I hope to be out at NEW again.
It's no shade. It's one of those. I've heard what people say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's go out there and let's see it.
Let's
go out there and let's do this. Let's knock it out of the park. Because if you're as good as you say you are, we're going to deliver. And
exactly. No, shout out to everyone else in that match show. There's Eli Surge. I've always had with Eli Surge in the ring, and then there's Battle Wasp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have no points. I had fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, I have to ask this because when I was out there, we were kind of talking just about different matches and stuff, and we kind of got to the discussion that you and Travis Williams have never had a singles match together.
I'm glad you brought this up because when you brought up BC, I almost brought it up myself.
Nobody has booked it. No? I have a list of matches in my phone that if I ever ran a show, I would book. There's only been one match on that show on this list that has actually come to fruition, and that was Bussy versus Ride or Die.
Okay.
On this card, I have Travis versus Marz the Specialist. So at one point, if nobody ever books it, I will book it. But why has nobody booked this match?
Because they're scared. They're scared of how good it will be. They don't know how to contain it. Actually, I have no idea.
You guys have talked about it together, right? Oh,
we've talked a lot. So I think the first time Travis saw me wrestle was May of 2022. LPW 4. I believe that's what it was. That was myself and Stephen Crow, and he was the main event in that ladder triple threat match. And after the show, he tweeted out, I want to wrestle Marz the Specialist. I have that tweet screenshotted and saved for when it does happen, because I want to see how long it takes from that tweet to the match happening. But ever since then, like, there's just been snippets. Like, I say it on almost every podcast. I don't know if it's Travis Williams. He said it, I believe it was between two beers before the Oil Rumble. I tweeted out the other day when it was his birthday. He said, I want to wrestle Marz the Specialist. So there's snippets. It keeps getting thrown every once in a while, and it has to happen eventually. Either that or Short Kings versus Sinner and Saint. They have to happen eventually.
I would take that one too, because you four would absolutely deliver. So, like, somebody book these matches.
What? You know what? Let's go one step further. Let's have 3 matches that we can do. We have Short King, Sinner and Saint, Marz and Travis, Intangible Short Kings versus the Northern Armory. Let's throw all 3 of them in there. Screw it. Let's do it.
I'm game. Look, if nobody's booking it, I will book this. Grainmaker
All 3 matches in one night.
in 5 years. We're going to get it at some point. We bet.
It has to happen. The amount of times I've been told, I think it's happening, and it doesn't happen. Oh,
I hope it does. I think the viewers hope it does. The fans have to hope it does. You guys will absolutely deliver. Marz, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to, sit and chat with me today. If you've got anything to promote, I mean, here you go.
Well, of course, you can find me at Twitter, and you can find me at Instagram at Marz Specialist. Look up The Short Kings on YouTube, The Short Kings Wrestling. We have a lot of skits, a lot of funny stuff. The podcast on Spotify and on YouTube. You can find me every single month, besides December, because Christmas. You can find me every single month at CBUS on the final Thursday and LPW on the final Friday, except for this month is a week ahead, so it's the 22nd and 21st, I believe it is. Yeah, 21st for CWS, 22nd for LPW. I'll be defending this against Kushida this month. And then you can also find myself and Reid Matthews defending those PPW Tag Team Championships on December, I believe it is 6th, for PPW in Saskatchewan.
Nice. Hell yeah. Marz, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much. Thank you, viewers, for checking this out. Make sure you subscribe, like all of the stuff up on the Love Wrestling YouTube. There's so much incredible, great content. Check out the Patreon. Thank you so much for joining us. Peace, listeners.